I figured I'd turn that on. So
That's right. After approving this. I like that. Um, yeah, I know it's in C, and I know it's in 4/4 time, um, and all the way through. And it just what I know that the walk down. There's parts of the walk down that I don't know how they work. So
okay,
that we could start there.
sure.
Then separately, I can find the melody up here, although I'm not perfect and I don't perfectly know it yet. I need to learn it, but I
Okay.
can find it up here and up here. And so, but I know that somehow, in order to integrate that into the chord progression and play it, somehow I have to find it all here, which I haven't done yet.
Yeah, is so. So I do have a lesson on this, right?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Yeah,
And do I play it instrumentally, or is it mostly about just strumming the chords as if you're going to sing it?
it was both, I think.
Okay. And
It
it's
was,
probably mostly just the melody to the instrumental part, and
yeah.
not necessarily the melody to the vocal part. Or do you remember? But I play it all the time. I play a completely instrumental version of this all the time, and I just can't remember what I did in the lesson. If I
Uh-huh.
build it as like a solo guitar arrangement or more of an accompaniment lesson.
Yeah.
Um, I'll have to check that out sometime. Yeah, when it's back up online, I'll take a look at it. Hopefully later today.
Okay. Okay. But what I'm when I'm watching the two things, picking out the melody, uh, you know, that.
Yeah. Good.
I'm shaky on that, but
Okay, yeah. And you know what? In the original recording, there are kind of two things going on right there that the organ's doing at the same time. Two different melodies happening at the same time, and that's why it's really easy to sort of get them confused or crossed up just at that very end. Um,
yeah.
and so, like the way I hear that melody, and that was good when you went up the neck and stayed up there for most of those notes, right? So we've got this. Something like that. So that's like one melody goes up and just holds that high note. But also you hear this. Something like that, so that's what I mean. There are a couple different things you can do there at the end, and we'll just have to kind of decide. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, I usually wouldn't put that little trill the next time around.
Yeah.
Oh, there's where it goes. It goes. That's the best way to play those last four notes, the last little four phrases. Um, this is when we hear this high note here. That would be one ending melody, and the other would be this. So I don't know you can hear where I am in there,
Yeah.
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 and that starts on an F chord. That high note, it'd be an F chord with an A up on the top, and but also on that F there's a little sequence. So a sequence in music is like a string of notes or a little melody that is then repeated at a higher or lower level. And so this thing ends with a sequence of just four notes: C, D, E, F, then B, C, D, E, then A, B, C, D, and then comes home to the C. So see, it's just a little ascent. Da 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 da.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so it's just straight up the scale, four notes, and then starting one note lower than where it had, does the same thing.
Okay.
Try that once, because that's so starting on C here.
Yeah.
Just play the first four notes of a C scale, and then starting on B, and then on A, and then come home to C. You're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming
So
home to
that's
C.
how,
Yeah.
and that melody note, then that melody note would be that C, the high C.
This C, the high C.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
C. Okay.
So I think that's where you kind of got a little off the track when you played through it. I think everything was pretty good, like up until there, and that. But it's totally understanding why that part is. It's
Okay.
harder to hear that, or
Okay.
because there's other stuff going on.
But it starts. It starts at the well at the scale note.
Yeah, and the four notes before it were F walking down, F E D C, and then it starts on the C D E F B C. Let me think about that a little bit more. So we get to the end. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so that F starts on the last C chord when the melody is here. So this is a little bit odd because it's a C chord, but that the first four notes leading into the sequence go F E D C, and that's over a C chord, and then it's to an F chord for the first sequence or the first four notes, then to a G chord for the the one starting on B, then back to F for the one starting on A.
Okay. Okay. So we were at C to go backwards, right?
Right.
Okay. And we're
Right. That's what happens on the C chord is the melody descends from F down
okay.
to C, F E D C.
Yeah.
Then that C is the beginning of the first of the three sequences,
Yep.
and that's on an F chord though. So it goes to F for that first little walk up from C D E F.
Yeah. And you. Okay. Oh. Whoops. What am I doing?
Then for the next one, the melody note starts on B. So what chord would we be on here?
Um. We would be on G.
Right. And then the next melody note is
A.
so we'd be on right back to our F chord.
Back to the F chord. Okay. No.
And then you're done. Then land it on C. Yeah.
And when you're doing the F chord, are you literally barring on and off?
Yeah.
Are you doing that?
yeah, there's a couple of options here. It kind of depends on how we're trying to put this together. Like this would sound fine if you just had the chord hit. Um, if you just strum the chord every time there's a chord change. Now a lot of times that includes a melody note. And then you
Yeah.
can kind of let go of anything you have to. If you can hang on to the bass note, that's really good. So like on that first, like on the C chord here, I need the F in the melody, but I can't strum this and put the F in there if I move this finger to F, because now I'll hear the open B string, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just gives me a major 7 chord, right? But so if I was going to try to be real precise, I guess, about this, when I play that C chord, what I would do for the F is flatten this finger out so that I get both the F and the C,
Yeah.
and then kind of roll it back off the E. I mean, to get the E, right? So I do something like this, right?
Yep.
Now, realistically, if you've got this C on the tip of your finger,
Yep.
you can't really roll the F on without letting go of the C and keep it ringing. And that's okay as long as we kind of hear it. As long well, but we can't hear the B is the problem. We don't really want to hear the B in there. So, um, you know, this is where we might even consider like strumming part of the chord and plucking that note with a separate finger. I don't know if we got to kind of work this out from the beginning and see what other kinds of problems we're going to have. But like when I got to the F, to answer the question you really got to, in other words, we're going to have these types of problems. Is to try to decide how to finger it so that we can hear as much of the chord as possible and then get the melody happening, right? But so the question you just asked about, when I want to play that melody that starts on the C from my F chord, the first thing I would do there is I'd play the full F for the strum and I'd hear all 5 strings. And then I'm gonna let go of my 4th finger and then lift off just the top part of the bar for the F, trying to keep the F on in the bass, and then put it back on
Yeah.
for the F. Now the G chord is really easy because the melody note's the open B. So, and the next F would be kind of the same thing. Now the melody note's the A, so I'm going to strum 4 strings and add my 4th finger, for the D at the end, and then come back to the C. And when I strummed each of those, and the melody was on like the 2nd or 3rd string, this song's going slow enough to where you can be fairly precise about that, of not strumming too far. But when you're just trying to avoid the 1st string, it's really easy to hang on to the 1st string with your 3rd finger. So if I want to strum a C chord and not hear the 1st string, I just grab it here and then strum right through it. And I would do that same thing on the F chord when I need the 2nd string in the melody. And the G chord. Oh, I forgot to take my finger off. I needed the open E there at the end, right? Did you hear that? So it's like I gotta let go, And then same thing. Now for the F, when I want to hit the 3rd string, I would still just grab the 1st string and try to just try to shorten my stroke so that it stops on the A.
On the A.
Yeah, but make sure you get the F in the bass. Make sure you get the 6th string.
Okay.
Yeah. And then lift off the top part of the bar because the next note's the open B. But try to keep the bass note ringing. Again.
Okay. Ooh,
And then put it back on. Yeah,
that's a challenge.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We're getting into stupid guitar player tricks with this kind of thing. It's like lifting off part of the bar but keeping the bass note on. So that's what I was describing a little while ago. You can't really do that because you can't change from the bar. You want to keep that note ringing from when you hit it.
Yeah.
So you can't change to your fingertip.
Can't change. Okay. Yeah. So okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's that's an interesting move. It's challenge enough. Okay. But then it goes to here. Yeah.
Yeah, then you got to add the D.
Yeah.
No, no, the D on the second string. Oh, you just hit the wrong string. Yeah, yeah. And then at the so try and then it's going to end on the C chord. And
Yeah.
now try that technique of holding the first string, touching the first string with your third finger on your right hand. On your right hand.
With
So
my
you're going
third
to
finger?
yeah, and then just strum it so that we hear the second string as the melody note.
Okay. Do you
So your third finger has to not move when you do this. This is weird. You got to like brush across the. Yeah.
just strum past it?
Go faster. Yeah.
It goes it goes up from there. Yeah.
Well, actually, um, if we're act no where we are, we'd be at the end right here. This is the C that would be at the very last one.
Oh,
Because
okay.
this just came from the F that started with the A.
Right.
So that's it. So you're just yeah.
Okay. And when you do, I mean, you literally hang on to that, strum past it. Okay. And then you're just back to it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, okay, so you let's talk about the beginning now. Well, what else you been playing, by the way, first? But I'd really like to work on this a little bit more because this is one of
Oh,
my all-time favorite songs.
I worked through, I keep working on Lighter Shade of Pale and also the whole run through Here Comes the Sun,
Good.
which, both I leave the cable at 5 when I do that.
Yeah.
And just
You need the space. The space is a little bit better up at 5 than it is at.
yeah, than it is up here. But for me, um, playing at the fifth fret capo, I can hit a lot more bar chords for whatever reason. The angle is a lot better than it is down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, been working through those, and that's if I just sit down and pick it up, I do that, and then I come back and I've been continuing to.
Oh,
Um,
hallelujah.
my mind is just gone. Um, Let it be me,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
me, and so and that's actually been really actually beneficial in the sense that I, I'm getting better about keeping my hand open. This is this thing. I have to remember.
I think it's E minor. Is it E minor? E minor or C here? No, it's got to be E minor.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and then it goes to.
is great. You know, especially like the second time through, you put it all together and the first time through you hesitated a few times going to the chords as you were kind of rebuilding it. And I was going to have a couple suggestions about getting to the B minor and things like that, but the second time you did it exactly the way you're supposed to, which is like, the first bass note there is open. It's like, just go ahead and play it. Your fingers will get there,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really good. There's not an A minor in that B section somewhere?
Yeah, there is. I played that wrong.
Right. So,
Yeah.
but you know what? So you played a C there where it should have been A minor, but
Should
it's
have been.
they're almost interchangeable, in that case, right? And I think it's the A minor is the last, just before the B7, I think, right? Or is
Yeah.
it earlier?
No, no, it's earlier.
Okay,
It's
it's the second time you played C then.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. And the next one is C. Got it. You know what? I think I want to change something on that B7. You did a really good job. We changed your right hand to get to, because we have to hear the fourth string in there, right?
Right.
So let's add a slightly different approach to it, and that is leave your fingers where they are, but use your thumb twice. Play the fifth string and then the fourth string, and then roll out the rest of your fingers.
Yeah. Would you go? No, I'd have to.
Oh, and this time you got to finish the chord, right? And that's fine. Yeah, you could just. You don't need to play. You don't need to play like the. That's a good place to stop. To leave
Yeah.
out an eighth note.
Do it. Yeah, right. Then back to
Yeah.
here. Okay.
And you
Yeah,
might want to
yeah.
you might want to make that last note though, the root again. You might come back with the last thumb being the B rather than the D sharp again.
Oh, be here.
Right. That'd be a better note to be the last note rather than. But what you did was like a really natural thing there to come back to where your thumb had last been.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come back to here. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Did you ever play? Or did we ever talk about "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You"?
On what?
"Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You," a Led Zeppelin tune.
Um, we haven't. I mean, I know the tune.
Okay, this would be a really good one to tackle now for like the next step of this type of finger picking.
Okay.
Because what happened? So and it's an A minor chord. I'm missing a nail, so I can make this work. Yeah. So it's really a fairly simple progression. A minor, and I'm sure you hear a similarity between "Let It Be Me" and "A Whiter Shade of Pale." These are things, and even in this, these are things that just revolve around descending bass lines.
Yes.
I gotta show you. I gotta divert for a second, then I'll get back to those two. This week I did a lesson that's up now, but you can't find it. I don't see if you remember this one. Anyway, it goes. There's a girl in my room and a face on the wall with no eyes. There's a girl in my room and a face on the wall with no eyes. Hear that bass line though too? The same thing?
Yeah.
Girl with no eyes, who can she be? Girl with no eyes, she's looking at me. There's a girl in my room and a face on the wall with no eyes. So this is a really common thing in songwriting. There are some that work with major chords like "I knew a man Bojangles and he danced," and all we talked about. Anyway, and so in "A Whiter Shade of Pale," So like again, back into Let It Be Me, you can hear that that's what's going on in the bass, and it's really just going straight down the major scale, right, from G to F sharp to E. Then it has to jump an octave to the D,
Yeah.
and then to C. And that's exactly what A Whiter Shade of Pale does, except it does it for a really long time. It keeps like cycling through and starting over like someplace else. So it's more like 16 measures long instead of Let It Be Me, which is 8 measures long. And so I was always fascinated by the way they did that in A Whiter Shade of Pale, because it's quite a long series before it comes before it concludes. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and you'll hear it in a lot of well, anyway, so it's the same thing in Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, but but the picking pattern in Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is always 2 thumbs, then the index finger here, and then either the second string or the first string, just depending on what's happening right there. So it's thumb, thumb, and so you'd use your thumb on the 5th, then thumb on the 4th, then your index on the 3rd, and then the first time it's up to the high E, so you use your ring finger for the open E. So that's this, right? I'm sorry. Jeez. And the second time, that high note is the second string.
Okay.
Try that. Yeah. And when you hear, and then your third finger on your left hand goes to G in the bass.
Okay.
Third finger to G in the bass.
Oh, here.
Yeah. And now the thumb goes from 6 to 4, and then the third string, and now except the last melody note, the 4th note. When you hear this, you really notice the bass on the first beat every time, and that's what keeps descending through the measures. And then the highest note, the 4th note you play in every sequence, or every little group, is what you hear as the melody, and that melody note has to always ring until the next melody note. So this sounds, there's this real contrapuntal sound, this idea of counterpoint, where the bass is doing one thing and then these melody notes like jump out like little, fish out of the water or something, and you hear those. And so all of those melody notes are the 4th of every set of 4 notes. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in the case of the G, so like on the A minor, the first A minor, the 2
Right.
melody notes were E and C, the high E,
Right.
and then the C on the second string.
Right.
When you go to the G in the bass, the first melody note is going to be a D on the second string. And then the second melody note will be a C, so the D comes off. Yeah. So that's the 2 melody notes that follow the first 3 notes of the picking pattern.
Right.
So try that on the G.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. You hear it?
Right.
Right. And now while that C is ringing,
Yeah.
the next bass note is F sharp. So your second finger is going to go to the F sharp in the bass, and your third finger goes back to the A where it would be like on a normal A minor chord. This is basically like a D7 with F sharp in the bass.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now it's going to be.
And D in the melody again now. The first melody note's going to be D, and it's going to be D and C again. Yeah. Then we're going to an F chord, and so this F you want to play. You don't need to play a note on the 5th string, so you want to do the F the way we've talked about it sometimes, where your third finger plays. Oh, maybe we haven't talked about this. Where your third finger plays the 4th string. So put the full bar on. Yeah, that finger's going to stay there.
Right here.
Yeah. This doesn't happen right here, but later on in the song, you're going to have this F happen, and you're going to need the D. The D is going to be a melody note, and then it's going to go from D to C, just like those other ones did.
Yeah. Right,
But in the case of this F, it's just those 4 notes.
So am I here with my second finger or
Yeah.
just
No, you need your second finger too.
on
That's
the A?
on the A. Yeah. And again, double thumb.
Yeah.
And then it goes, and then you let go of that. So it's only one set of four on the F, and it goes to E for the second set of four, and the same four strings. Yeah. And then you're right. Then you're done and back to the beginning.
Okay, just one F and one G. So those are all we're playing eighth notes here, right?
Yeah. And
And
each
so
measure is two sets of four eighth notes.
two sets of four eighths.
And
Okay,
and for the first three measures, it's the same chord, but the melody note changes.
right.
Then the last measure is half a F and half a E.
Okay, okay.
Now there's one more catch if you get this far when you start looking at it, and that is the fourth melody note. Again, always the melody note has to always ring until the next melody note.
Yeah,
So like when you do the A minor, it's easy because they're both you've got them both down. They're different strings. Oh, sorry. Now when you go to the G and the bass, you want to make sure that this C continues to ring while you start it. And now you add the D, and you don't move the D until you need the C again. And then that C keeps ringing while you go to F sharp in the bass. Now I put the D on, and I keep it ringing, and then I take it off for the C. But now I have to go to this bar for the F. We have a problem here in that I want this C to ring, and it can't. The way Jimmy Page plays this is he keeps it ringing. Actually, he doesn't keep it ringing very well anyway. The guy's he really botches this song, but don't tell anybody I said that. Okay, he's not a very clean finger picker.
okay.
He didn't take lessons from the right guy, you know. But the way the way you can keep it ringing is you could play this F with the thumb wrap, keeping the C on and coming around here,
Yeah.
and then you can keep that C ringing even a little bit longer while you start working on the E. So that's like the smoothest way to do it. Or the trickiest way to do it is you come out of the F sharp, and now I put the bar on for the C before I hit the F in the bass. You know, so instead of doing this, I hit that. If I hit that note like that, it's going to die as soon as I put the bar on. So the two choices to keep it ringing are either keep it ringing the way you played it and go with the thumb wrap, or put the bar down early. Watch how that works.
Yeah.
That's what I recommend people learn to do. It's another bar chord trick. It's like sometimes you want to in this case you put the bar down earlier because that melody note is more important than even keeping the bass note that you played 3 notes ago ringing. You're not going to notice that dying because it's already decaying, you know.
Okay.
And yeah, and you can hear the difference between if it dies, it's really noticeable. And if I put the bar down first, you know, it's much smoother.
Okay. Okay. So basically, it's A minor, and
Right. That's the first. That's the two melody notes on the A minor.
those are the two melody notes on the A minor, and then it's G, and the two melody notes are
Right.
right, and then it's F sharp here,
Yep.
and it's the same two melody notes,
Same two melody notes, the D and the C.
right?
And hang on, right there, right there. That C. If you want to try it the fancy way, you put the bar down now and play that C in the bar before you put down the red. Yeah. And then you start with the F in the bass. Now, all those other fingers could come off right when you do that. So right there, at that instant, you would have just the bar on,
Yeah,
and you start with the second string. You play the last melody note.
right.
Then you start with the F in the bass,
Yeah, and then okay. Yeah,
and you keep that F short. Again, you're not when I talk about a short F, it means you're not using both of these fingers on the 5th and 4th string. You're only
right
playing the one on the 4th string.
here.
Yeah. And your second finger still has to be there, right?
Yeah.
When we get when we get into other finger picking songs where we're keeping a steady alternating bass going, on F you're going to play it that way all the time because you're going to be playing 6 and 4 in the bass. Right. And then you've got your fourth finger available to play melodies and stuff up there.
Right.
So this is anytime you're not strumming all the strings,
Right.
this should be like the default way to learn that bar chord wherever you play it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
then
I'll work on it for
E.
that. Yeah, and for the E, I even many times do the same thing for the E is put my second finger where your third is. Don't have a finger on the fifth string. Right.
Oh, yeah, because you're just yeah.
Yeah, cuz yeah.
Okay. And then here the melody note is
Yeah. Yeah. So both the F and the E you don't do any moving on. You just put the chord down and you play and the melody note is on the second string both times.
okay. Okay. And then that in the song, I'm now remembering or trying to remember what the song came. And that just rolls, right?
There's always like at least I think 6 sets of those before something else happens. And the
Yeah.
something else that happens
Is the
is
strumming.
before that. There's one more thing. It goes
Okay.
to the F. You hear the F and the E for whole measures each, twice, where the melody does the same thing. It's D and C. Actually, on the E it's D and B, but it's the D to the whatever note is already on the second string. So it's the F, a full measure of F with a D and a C, then a full measure of E with a D and a B, and then it repeats. And that always comes back to here. And eventually you hear this. Now all that's happening there is I'm strumming the A chord, the A minor chord, taking it up to where it would be E minor, as if I had a bar at the 7th fret.
Yeah. Yeah. Here.
The bar would be at 7, so it'd be 1 fret higher.
Oh.
And then back to where it'd be a D minor. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we hear is this A minor. And that starts on A minor, down here. Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. Okay. So A minor, E minor. Well, it's not really E minor.
We kind of just think of it as E minor with A in the bass, where the A is like what we call a pedal point, where you've got the same bass note over some chord changes, and so we're keeping that A ringing in the bass over all of this, and so the open E that we're hearing is of course fine with our E minor chord.
Yeah. Okay.
But then we've got the same thing on a D minor. We've got the A in the bass still.
Yeah.
And then we've got the clash of the open E next to the F that's right here on the second string. You know? So I mean it's really dissonant for a second, but that's part of what makes this sound so cool.
Yeah. Okay. Who wrote this one out of the group there?
Oh, this is interesting. Jimmy Page is a notorious plagiarizer and thief. And he took credit for this as if he wrote it, even though and so for many years he made a lot of royalties on it because every Led Zeppelin album that sold, there was a song on there that he claimed he had written, and they've been sued by a lot of people for for plagiarism what is the word I'm looking for, I guess, but yeah, basically repurposing things.
Right.
Stairway to Heaven was a really famous one that was
Right.
in court for like 20 years, and they eventually won that one.
Yeah.
But
Just
yeah,
recently. Yeah.
just recently. That's what I mean. That's yeah, and but this one, uh, this appeared on a Joan Baez album in 1962. Now that was way before, and Jimmy Page had definitely heard her play this.
Uh-huh.
And and it turns out it was written. Now their version is quite different than hers. Of course, with it gets rockier and stuff like that. And turns out that it was written by a Berkeley songwriter or a hippie in Berkeley named Anne Breeden, I think her name was. And eventually, she or her estate, brought this to the attention of the law, and they paid her a fortune. And now on all the printed copies of it, her name is there as like, a co-author. So yeah, so this was one that he ran off with and got caught. Um,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah. Now, admittedly, the picking he did in there and everything was very original. This was not the way Joan Baez did it. I haven't heard it in a long time, but I remember when I listened to it, I thought, oh man, they added a lot to this to kind of make it their own, but it's still an arrangement of somebody else's tune. You know. Um,
yeah.
Speaking of which, one I stumbled into recently was Scarborough Fair. I don't know if we talked about this, but what was I talking about Scarborough Fair for some reason? Oh, this had to do with a lesson I did on Dylan. And Bob Dylan learned, he first heard Scarborough Fair from an English guitar player named Martin Carthy, who was like around in the early '60s. He's still alive, but he from the era of these other great English players, John Renbourn and Davy Graham and Bert Jansch, and so Martin Carthy. They all kind of started different bands. Martin Carthy started a band that is still around. I don't think he's with it, called Steel Eye Span, and there was like Renbourn's band was Pentangle. Anyway, Martin Carthy taught this to Paul Simon in like 1964 or so, and he does, and anyway, and the song goes back 500, maybe even 1500 years. I mean, it's based on a tale before there was even Christianity in England. It's based on a pagan fairy tale, kind of about some spirit trying to have an affair with an earth woman, kind of, or something like that, and if she has to do these things to avoid being raped and stuff like that, and all these impossible tasks, right? And that's what Scarborough Fair is. All these things, you have to do this, then you'll be a true love of mine, right? And anyway, so that story goes back centuries, and but Martin Carthy then arranged it. He learned it from a compiler, and it was Ewan McCall, I think it was, yeah, and from a book he put out like in the '40s, and then he did this guitar arrangement that Paul Simon didn't quite learn the way he did it, and Paul Simon did sort of, put his own little take on it, but then he went and copyrighted it as if he owned the thing. And Martin Carthy talks about this in some, you can find a YouTube video of Martin Carthy talking about this and says, he doesn't own that song any more than I do. He should not be making royalties on it. And, it's my arrangement that he plays in the first place.
And
Anyway.
it didn't. Wow.
Yeah.
Paul Ross Simon tried to make that right, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um, okay. So I got that to work on. Whiter Shade of Pale, started working through that. So in Babe, I Want to Leave You. So that's great. That'll be a good week's good week
Yeah,
start here.
and next time we'll talk a little bit more about. We'll work on putting the melody and the chords together in Whiter Shade of Pale. So we'll see how
Yeah.
see how that evolves over the week. But
Okay.
definitely working on Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is like a great next step for you.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And last thing I noticed, this was in the nostalgia file.
Okay.
I noticed that you put up um, a lesson on Whitebird, which reminded me of driving from San Jose up to San Francisco to go to the Fillmore Auditorium,
Yeah.
seeing It's a Beautiful Day. They were an opening act, as I recall, and
Uh,
they would do Whitebird. I mean, every time David LaFlame was out there, and I could see the whole thing like right in front
yeah.
of me.
Yeah.
and but that brought back lots of memories. Standing around on the Fillmore and
Yeah.
your little poster on the way out that you should have kept. That
Right. Right.
you probably didn't. At least I didn't keep them.
No, I didn't. Yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
you know what? I was never at the Fillmore, but I was at Winterland a lot. You know, it was Fillmore had
yeah,
just sort of closed when as I was turned 17 or 18 or something like that. You know,
yeah.
and actually that song I played for a few minutes ago, "Girl with No Eyes," is from the same album. That's a Beautiful Day song.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't recognize that. Huh.
yeah,
That's,
it's definitely from yeah, probably because of the way I was playing it and singing it. But if you have that
yeah.
album, go back and listen to it again, or dig it up.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
That song. And
The
there's another great song on there called "Hot Summer Day." That went something like a hot summer day, please carry me away. Hot summer day, do 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 till its end, where it begins. Something like that, you know.
I'm going to take a listen to that.
Yeah, that album is fabulous.
Yeah, good old. Yeah, I remember there was the classic way that it happened at the Fillmore um, was you're standing around. You know, the place was really packed.
Yeah,
You're standing around, and we were always sort of at the right hand edge of the stage for some reason. Bill Graham walks out. It was very unceremonial. Walks out. He's always wearing jeans and a white T-shirt.
yeah,
The introduction was always just simply, "Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day."
right,
And so he'd play. They go through the whole set, and probably it could have been in the same show. The next one was "Ladies and Gentlemen, Cream."
right.
Yeah, and it was just. I mean, it was pretty extraordinary, really. When I think
Yeah,
about who it was, I mean, that was just a small sampling of the people.
yeah,
Uh, the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, Elvin Bishop,
sure.
and oh man, it was really cool. And the original Jefferson Airplane,
Hmm.
way back when they were actually the Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my prized possessions when I bought it was the triple record, "The Last Days of the Fillmore." I don't know if you remember that. It was a big white. It was a box set with three LPs in it, and actually a single that was an interview with Bill Graham, and all kind and a few posters and stuff like that. You know, um, it's and they made a movie out of it that was like the whole last week they filmed this everything that was there. So I think it was 1970 was when the Fillmore closed.
Yeah, that sounds.
And but yeah, if you should, that'd be worth checking out a little bit too. Just the whole series of songs, and actually, "It's a Beautiful Day" plays Whitebird in that. There's a live version of that from the last days of the Fillmore too. So
Yeah, yeah, that's fun.
I hate to send you down this rabbit hole, but it sounds like you got a lot of fun stuff to check out.
Yeah. Oh no, that's fine. I love going down these rabbit holes. So, all righty. Next